49ers versus Chiefs. Harbaugh versus Shanahan. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. And, of course, we're getting into some quarterback talk with my guy, Greg Panelli, whenever he shows up. But y'all know what it is, man. It's San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. Let's go.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Eric Crocker. Over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Cross Talk TV podcast. Peace.
Welcome to another episode of the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, man, y'all know everywhere y'all can find me. Locked on 49ers with myself and Brian Peacock 5 days a week. Locked on NFL Draft. We got John Harris, Ryan Tracy with me 5 days a week. We talking about all the draft prospects. It's never too early to talk draft. I know it's not as fun when you don't have a first round pick. 49ers, the last year they're missing that first round pick. All right. As always, we got Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. Download the app or go to underdogfantasy.com to get in on all the action. I ain't gonna lie, I've been on fire on Underdog lately. There was a stretch where it's like, man, I'm losing. But I'll probably come up almost 2,000 this month off Underdog. So, you know what I'm saying? It's treating me good right now. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky if you sign up. All right. But let's talk about some more important things. And Greg, not sure where he's at just yet. Of course, he's supposed to be here. We're supposed to go. So first of all, we're supposed to go to Tuesday evening. I forgot exactly what happened. My daughter had some stuff. Oh, Lakers, Warriors played. And I'm like, dude, I got to watch the Lakers and Warriors game. And then Wednesday was supposed to go, but our schedule was kind of off. And then he was doing stuff. And then he's training. And then, I'm like, all right. And I'm like, all right, well, come on this morning. And not sure where he's at yet. He's probably still asleep, hasn't brushed his teeth yet, all that good stuff. But he'll pop in at some point, hopefully. All right. But I see everybody in the chat right now. I see the flames going up. Ethan, appreciate you. 5 flames. Let's go. Sal, let's go. Gabriel, Greg. All right, let's go. Everybody feeling good this morning. Mike Shields, only 2 flames. He must still be upset with Jimmy Garoppolo. All right, Trail in here. Let's go. Everybody feeling good. Let's go. All right, man. Let's talk about some good stuff. And if Greg doesn't come on, then I'll bring y'all on sooner to have this discussion. But I've been seeing it on Twitter, and this wasn't one of the topics. We are going to get to 49ers Chiefs, but Jim Harbaugh versus Kyle Shanahan. And I guess it's just one of those fun conversations because really ain't shit we can do about it. But it's fun to just think about, right? And I know everybody would take everything so serious. Like, nah, man. Let's just, have a nice, fun conversation. And there was this video that was floating around Twitter. I'd have to go back and look. I know I quote tweeted it, but watching Jim Harbaugh, I was like, man, that's my guy. That was my guy. Jim Harbaugh, the things that I really liked about him, I feel like his play, like his players, like his team, it's like they knew 100%. I don't care about nothing. My coach got my back. 100%. My coach got my back. I think the vibes was dope. Going back and just kind of looking at it, right? You got Future, Tony Montana. Like I just saw it. I remember that championship game, but like he brought out Future. And that's part of, Harbaugh got to sign off on all this stuff. And just the culture that he built, the culture that was the 49ers during that time. He coached for 4 years and went to 3 straight NFC championship games and 1 Super Bowl. And it's a shame that those teams didn't win. All this is coming back up because there's this 2012 reunion at the game this week against the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's why it's coming up. It is not like out of nowhere talk. Harbaugh and all those guys, 2012 squad, they are showing up at Levi's Stadium. They did have 2 Chainz there. I saw 2 Chainz with the 49ers, but with Tony Montana, that was Future. And Future was standing on like the dugout, because this was when they were still back at Candlestick. So he's like standing on the dugout, and he got the cheerleaders right there, and he's like, Tony Montana. I just thought, like, man, it was just dope. It was just dope. Just the whole vibe around that team and how he played. And I did post a story about Jim Harbaugh and my guy Lavelle Hawkins. Shout out to my guy Lavelle Hawkins. He's from Stockton. I'm from north side of Stockton. You see it. He's from south side of Stockton. But Lavelle played 6-7 years in the NFL, and he had a great story. It's actually on his YouTube channel about his interaction with the 49ers, and he returned the kickoff for a touchdown. But the backstory leading up to that, it was pretty dope. It was in the preseason. He took his helmet off and all that, but he came on the show and talked about everything leading up to that, and he kind of felt like Harbaugh was playing him. He has told me, and other people as well, leader of men, I see Terror Dome. Harbaugh, leader of men. He also was a little weird and a little quirky with the way he did things, and he was just different. Harbaugh was just different. He was just different. There are a lot of people that talk about the team that he inherited. Like, man, Harbaugh, the team he inherited was so great. You can't compare. Like, Shanahan had to break down the whole other roster and all that, et cetera. Yada, yada. I will say this. We do know what that team turned out to be, and obviously full of great football players. But that was not how the 49ers were viewed prior to 2011. First of all, nobody wanted Alex Smith. Like, y'all remember that, right? Nobody wanted Alex Smith, but they were having the lockout year and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? They brought him back for the low. No, and they were able to sign him to like a 2-year contract, whatever it was. Nobody wanted Alex Smith. And you had some good players. Like Gore was good. You knew that. Staley was good. You knew that. Justin Smith could play ball. Like, you knew that. Patrick Willis was good. But, like, it wasn't like what it ended up being, which was, goddamn, how many All-Pros are here? How many Pro Bowlers are here? How many, like, Harbaugh contributed to that and how that team is viewed and why that team is getting recognized this Sunday. He had, and so you can say, oh, he inherited a great team, but like, yes, we know it's a great team because of what he did in 2011 through 12-13. But nobody viewed the 49ers as a great team. Nobody even viewed them as having all these great players and what it turned out to be once he got there. And you got to give him some credit for being able to get the most out of all of his players. He got the most out of all those dudes. Like, they weren't viewed the same way. You know what I'm saying? They just weren't. And Fangio, right? That's a big part of it as well. Like, those dudes came there, they coached their ass off. They had those guys cooking. Offense, defense, guys flying around. Yes, the players that he got, he ended up winning a lot of games with. But I think people kind of overrate, like, how that team was viewed heading into it. They weren't viewed that way. The defense was not viewed as just, like right here, my guy Jose, that defense was full of dogs. Well, yeah, we know that now, but it wasn't viewed as this defense is full of dogs before Harbaugh and those guys showed up. Like, it wasn't viewed that way. It just wasn't. And but I hear a lot of people like, oh, the team that, you know, and it's like, yeah, we know that now. You knew that, like, once 2011, you start cooking, like, oh, man, we're hella good. It's like 2019 with the 49ers, right? 2019 49ers ended up being, you know, really good, great. And you watch that team and head into it, it was like nobody said the 49ers have a Super Bowl roster. The 49ers have the roster to be the best team in the NFC. The 49ers are going to be the best team in the NFL. Like, nobody said that heading into 2019. The 49ers are not one player away. They don't have to make a big trade. They're not one player away. Like, that was a lot of the conversation. So it's crazy how things kind of get twisted into, like, all of a sudden, this is, you know, because of how players end up getting coached up and they play well. And then, of course, when guys are playing well, guys are coached up, you get the best out of everybody, you end up having Pro Bowlers and All Pros, etc. So it ends up coming off as you inherited that. I think Harbaugh did a really good job of doing that, getting the most out of guys and making it result in wins. Andy Lee. Yeah. So, you know, we just kind of had to get that out the way. I thought they did a really good job. All right, anyways, let's talk about these Chiefs, 49ers. And what do y'all think about the Chiefs? I've watched them a few times this season. I've watched them, what did they play, like 6 games? I probably watched like 3 of them. For sure 3. Maybe more. But for sure 3. And it's weird, like I've seen one team that looked like they were unstoppable. Right? Like there was one game I was watching and I'm like, damn, like this is just a rout in what they were doing. Then you watch them against the Raiders and you see the Raiders jump out to a 17-0 lead and you're like, damn, they got a chance. And then it doesn't end up turning out that way. And then, I don't know, it's just each time I've watched them, I feel like there are holes that the 49ers can potentially take advantage of. But ultimately, I think it comes down to you got to be better than Patrick Mahomes. And you got to get him uncomfortable. The hot chocolate is back, y'all. The hot chocolate is back. How can the 49ers counter what the Kansas City Chiefs do well? And the tough thing heading into it, at least my thoughts on this is I still don't know if the 49ers offense can score points. And because I don't know that, it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, 49ers are going to do this and that, or 49ers are going to counter this, because no matter what you do defensively, and you have to stop their offense, you got to stop Mahomes. You got to stop Kelsey, right? And on Locked On 49ers, I said, you got to really stop the others. Like, Kelsey's going to get his. Kelsey will get his. In the midst of Kelsey getting his, can you limit everything else that the other guys are doing? Can you limit the Juju Smith-Schusters? Can you limit the Valdez-Scantlins, the Sky Moore, the Miko Hardman, the Clyde Edwards-Helaire? You can't let those guys get off. Kelsey's going to get his. And the 49ers are still banged up. So it's going to circle back to what I thought heading into last game. And it's even more exaggerated this game. Last game it was, man, when you have half your defense out, can your offense pick up the slack? Can your offense carry this team? They couldn't do it. This week, I'm going to have the same questions. You still got guys out. Now, it does help to get guys like Nick Bosa back, Trent Williams back, but you still got guys out. You're still potentially missing your 2 starting corners. So if that's going to be the case, and you're going up against a high-flying, high-powered offense, can your offense score points? And I think that's the question that I'm going to leave up to y'all. So here's the question, or that's the question. Here's the link. Feel free. Come on. And I just want y'all to let me know how the 49ers, how are they going to beat the Chiefs? And we'll have a back and forth dialogue. I do know one thing. They kind of went with this big nickel in the last game, and I caught something on film. Oh, first of all, I caught a couple things on film. The first thing that jumped out to me was the 49ers were shadowing Drake London with Travis Ward, which I had never seen the 49ers do that. I hadn't seen them say, hey, you go guard that guy. And you had Ward going everywhere Drake London went. And I was like, I like that. That was good. So that was one of the first things I noticed. The second thing I noticed was they do this big nickel thing. And they've done it. And y'all remember, I made a huge deal out of Hufanga, that play that he undercut against Tyler Lockett, right? He undercut the ball and he nearly intercepted it and it went behind him. Gibson ended up picking it off. I made a huge deal because I'm like, dude, that's Hufanga in space against Tyler Lockett. The reason why I made a big deal out of it is because it's fucking crazy. Like, to me, like, it's crazy. You're leaving a safety in space playing off, which is tough, against a guy with a 2-way go with literally no help. Like, that's difficult. And I made a big deal out of it because I thought, like, this is an amazing play. I've talked to guys, some of my homies, Chris, I'm about to bring him on, and I was like, that's Hufanga's best play. Why? Because it's so difficult to do. But I didn't know they were making a living out of doing that. And they were doing it last game. You got all these coverage guys. You got all these DBs. Why on 3rd and long? Now, this is when I questioned D'Amico Ryans. And he probably has his reason. I'm asking the question. I know I'm not going to get the answer. I wish I could get the answer from D'Amico. Maybe I'll have somebody ask. Grant Cohn. I go on with Grant next after this. But I want somebody to ask, when you have guys that can cover, whether it's Dante Johnson who ended up coming in, you got Ambry Thomas, Diamondor Lenore, Samuel Womack, you got all these. Why do you have your safeties playing man with no help, but having the extra backer on the field? And I don't quite understand that. Hopefully, I get the answer to it. It worked on the interception play because Hufanga was amazing. But again, remember, I made a huge deal out of it because I thought it was crazy. I thought it was crazy. All right, here we go. Coming on first, we got my guy, Chris. Chris, what up, man?
Wait, so did it like hurt us last game or anything like that, or you just want to know why they do that?
Well, it hurt us on that first third down play. I'd have to go back and track and see like how
First
often
third
they
down.
did it.
I can't remember what happened on the first third down.
They had the big pass play where the dude caught the crosser and ran down the field. Then Gibson made a nice open field tackle.
Okay, what was that against? Who was that? Was it against Gibson?
Yeah, he was in man coverage on the guy.
Oh, okay. I think I remember what you're talking about.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm looking all over the field, and it's like you got three linebackers on the field versus essentially kind of I think it was pretty much 11 personnel, so one back, one tight end. But that tight end is Kyle Pitts, who's essentially a receiver. So you got Pitts in the slot on the right side, but then you have a little receiver in the slot on the left, and then obviously two receivers on the outside. But you got three linebackers on the field, and you're putting your safety in man positions with essentially no help, especially on that play. Like, there was no help. And then the crazy thing is, and I really should just bring this play up so y'all can see what I'm talking about. But the crazier thing is, when they drop, not drop guys in coverage, they didn't have any safety help because their safeties were manned up. And I think maybe Hufanga, or it could have been Dante Johnson that was in the slot on one side, but then you had Gibson in the slot on the other. And then you had three linebackers that were just, at the snap, they were just standing there. And they were just kind of like, okay, what are we going to do? It was almost like they weren't responsible for anybody. So it was like, why not have an extra DB in there for somebody over the top? It didn't make sense to me. But, yeah. So, yeah, that's that play. It ended up being a big play.
Yeah. Anyways, how we're going to beat the Chiefs? Okay, so the 49ers have to maximize every chance they have on offense, which means we can't turn over the ball. And I'm talking about that's players. I mean, that's the skill position players and the quarterback.
Somebody said mute your YouTube. It might be playing in the background or something.
Say that again?
Is your YouTube playing in the background?
No.
Okay, you're good. I don't know. Darius said that.
It's echoing. No, I don't know.
All right, go ahead. You're good.
So I mean, we cannot turn over the ball against, because you can't give Patrick Mahomes too many chances. You give Patrick Mahomes too many chances, he's gonna make you pay for one of them. So I think that's one of the key things. I mean, the key to victory for the 49ers every week is the same. We got to run the ball. We can't turn over the ball. And then as far as defense wise, I would say you got to stop the run. But I mean, Andy Reid is not really don't really run like that. You just got to put pressure on Mahomes. And you got to play discipline. You got to be disciplined in your gaps. You got to be disciplined when you're pass rushing him and now I stole this from some, but I think we all seen him play. I forgot which Jaquaski Tart said it. Shout out to Vish. Interviewed Jaquaski Tart, and Tart was talking about Patrick Mahomes. He said the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to let him get outside the pocket. Well, he is most deadly when he's outside the pocket. So the 49ers got to make sure they are disciplined in their rushing lanes. And he said you can't get behind him, because if you get behind him, then he'll be able to boom, 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 run out and just dot up your defense. So I think that, those are the keys to the game, especially for the defense. Now, I will say this, and I posted this on Twitter today. I said the 49ers defense has not allowed a touchdown at home this year. Do you think that changes on Sunday?
Are you asking me? Like,
I'm asking you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I put a percentage on it, I'd say 110% chance they score a touchdown on the 49ers. Now, how many? That's the thing, right? Can you limit? in the amount of touchdowns that they score.
Well,
And I think there's a scenario where they can. Especially, I like that Jimmy Ward's coming back.
me too. Jimmy Ward. So I think Hufanga will be able to play Sunday. So you'll have Ward, Hufanga. Who else? Who's our DBs? Mooney Ward. I think he'll be available. Lord, I pray he's available. And then whoever you have on the other side, and then you have possible Bosa coming back. And listen, the 49ers didn't have many chances to rush the passer last week. I don't know if people noticed that. What Falcons attempted how many throws? Because remember, Mariota did scramble on what, like 2 of them.
Yeah, so he had 14 attempts. He got sacked twice, so that's 2 more. And then that doesn't account for him dropping back and actually taking off.
Yeah, I think he dropped.
So it's less than 20. We're talking about less than 20 passing attempts or pass rush attempts.
Yeah, and I mean, we had 2 sacks. We had 3 QB hits. Now, usually we get 9 or something, but the Falcons is pretty smart. It's like we're not gonna let Mariota pass that much. So I think just being able, I think what the defensive line did without Bosa was pretty decent, and so but having Bosa back, and then we get Trip Williams back. Hopefully that helps our run game. So I mean, I see a scenario where the 49ers definitely win the game. I mean, I trust our defense. I truly trust our defense, and hopefully people realize. Listen, yeah, we allowed 150 yards rushing on the ground. The one that really killed us was actually Mariota. His rushing killed us. Those 2 running backs that the Falcons had both averaged one averaged 3.4 yards per carry, and the other one averaged 3.7 yards per carry, and both of them had 50 yards rushing. They ain't getting nothing more than that. It was Mariota who had 8 carries for 50 yards and averaged like 8 yards per carry, something like that. He killed us on the ground. So, listen, it's going to be hard for the Chiefs to run the ball. And again, I mean, their receivers are not spectacular. They got a spectacular quarterback, and of course, Travis Kelce is very spectacular. But if you can just contain Kelce, and like I said, just be disciplined in your rushing, I think there's a scenario where the 49ers really shut down the Chiefs. 17 points.
Shutdown is a strong word. I would say
points
that
is shutting down to me.
I think the 49ers, you have to put the pressure on the offense to score more points. You got to put the pressure, like Kyle, that is your baby. You got weapons. You have guys. You got Kittle. You got Debo. Like, you got Juszczyk. Figure it out. You need to score points. I don't think you could say, oh, man, we can hold them to 17, but because that's what it's going to take for the 49ers to win. You got to be able to say, like, man, if it's 31, if it's 31-28, like, we won. Like, right? Like, if we're going to win, okay, it might be 31-28. If you only get 17 from the defense, I mean, the defense only gives up 17, then great. Awesome. But I don't know how you go into it thinking, like, oh, we're going to win because we're going to hold them to 17 points. That's just tough.
Just because we have games where we held the team to 11 points and we lost, held the team to 19 points and we lost. So I understand that. This is my last question, and I'll let my plane. Actually, you're gonna land it for me. So, Croc, I need you to answer this. In what ways can the 49ers offense? In what ways can Shanahan help this 49ers offense score points? Like, what can he do better?
I don't know.
Oh, Lord.
And I said I don't know because, okay, I got one. He can coach better. Because right now what I'm seeing is a lack of efficiency in the offense. And I see missed opportunities. And I think that starts with coaching at practice. Now, that's not to say that he's not dialing things up. There are guys, I mean, come on. We look at all 22. We see guys are open. Now, I don't know what he says to Jimmy Garoppolo in his ear, right, before the game, before the play. But I don't think that it's a play calling issue. I think it's an execution issue.
Agreed.
And I think that starts with him in practice, with making sure that they are efficient with doing those things. And so I guess, yeah, if there's something he can do better for the offense, I'd say coach better. Now, not to say that he's a bad coach, but there's something that's missing right now, especially from the offense. And that's his baby. He's the man over that, so he's got to figure it out.
And I'll add this for you. I think he has to be a little bit more aggressive.
In what sense?
Fourth downs. There was I think it was like 4th and 5 on the Falcons game. I definitely thought he could have been aggressive there, but I mean he really coaches conservative, and I know you've actually harped on this several times about him, being aggressive. I think his understanding of the moment and momentum. I think he has to do better at understanding momentum and where they at, because there's times where you could literally change the momentum of a game or recapture the momentum or take momentum away from another team. But, he just goes and he punts the ball, and, especially if it's hard to points is hard to come by, bro, be aggressive on 4th down. Give your offense another opportunity. Because at the end of the day, we are we're ranked 28th in second half points. We average 6 points per game in the second half. That's unacceptable. We got to do better. All right, Croc.
All right. Shout out to my guy Chris real quick. Disappointed in your lack of morale. That's what Gammon says to my guy Mike. So we're going to bring Medic Mike and Gammon on. Let's go. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
What's happening? First of all, everyone like and subscribe, and big ups to you, Gammon. Proud of you, man. The weight loss. Salute to you, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah. So Medic Mike, I think it's pretty simple the way that the 49ers actually beat the Chiefs. And I think that the way that it is, it's pretty simple. So I think right now with the injury to Tershawn Wharton, right? So before that, his injury for the Chiefs, they were only allowing about 3.3 yards per rush. But since his injury, they've been allowing 5.1 yards or more per carry. And one of the things is like this team needs to get back to basics, which is just purely rushing the ball, right? The old, pound the football. And I think that they have the players to do that, especially if big Trent Williams kind of comes back. Another thing, too, that I was looking at, and this is the thing that I think it found most surprising, Mike, is that this Chiefs team isn't the same fourth quarter dominant team that we're kind of used to seeing with Patrick Mahomes. They have not been actually really just going on a tear in the fourth quarter. So I think, and this 49ers team is not good when they're behind in the fourth quarter. So I think that some of the keys to the victory is to not be in a deficit or in a hole in the fourth quarter, and then closing out the game, right, and just running the ball. Time of possession, I think, will be key. Croc, I'm with you. I think that the Chiefs, they're going to eat. They're going to do what they need to do, but they have a couple of issues, right? And this was an issue that I think plagued the 49ers last week, is that we don't have a lot of beef. We don't have a lot of meat kind of in that center, or in the center of our defensive line, right? With Armstead gone, Kinlaw gone, and you saw how the Falcons attacked us. Well, they were rushing, and we had kind of a hard time stopping the rush. Well, the Chiefs are one of the worst kind of like rushing teams in the league, and they're also too right now one of the worst defensive, as far as stopping the run team. So I kind of see those things in a really awkward way to kind of placate towards us. I don't know how you feel about any of that, Mike.
No, I actually agree with your points, and I agree with Chris. Pretty much hit the nail on the head. I'm gonna start with this last question, where what do you think Kyle Shanahan can do to help this team win? I think knowing, just like you said, Gammon, what the Chiefs are on offense and defense, you can almost hear Kyle's thoughts like, oh, to beat Mahomes, got to keep the ball out of his hand, establishing a good run game. That is true, but don't be predictable about it.
Right.
When we rush on first down, we're 26th in the league in expected yards per play. When we pass, we're 4th. Because when you watch a Niner game, it's very easy to see 10 defenders on the screen. No one respects the pass. If you want to beat Kyle Shanahan, if I asked anybody in here, probably, how are you going to beat Kyle Shanahan? Almost everyone's going to tell you, stop the run. Stop the run. Everyone knows that game plan. So what you can't do is be predictable and play into that. Throw some play actions in on first down. Throw some passes on first down. Maybe he'll set you up to run on second or run on third down. But what you can't do is be predictable. I do think a good run game is going to be quintessential for us to win. But like Chris said, Kyle's got to be more aggressive. He can't be predictable, and he has to be aggressive. No more 8-minute drives with 0 points. Like, you have to have a sense of the game. That's one of the big keys, at least for our offense. That and not turning the ball over. On defense, we're going to, one, I hope, we can get some of those guys back. But where we're going to win is our front four. Keeping discipline and on Mahomes and not letting him, because we all seen it. As soon as he starts scrambling and getting out of there, he's just going to start eating you up. It's like he's more comfortable in chaos. And so what you have to do is you have to remain very disciplined. And if we can get pressure on him, if we can get consistent pressure and stay disciplined, I think Chris is holding him to 17 points is very reasonable. I think our defense is that good if we get certain key players back. I'm not worried about the receivers. So if we get Mooney Ward back, I think our secondary and Huff, I think our secondary is good to go. If we get Huff without Ward, hopefully we're still able to hold up on the back end. But no, I think you guys pretty much hit most of those nails on the head and stuff. So I do think we have a legit shot to beat the Chiefs this week. I think this matchup skews in our favor, and I think it'll be a chance for Kyle to show that, hey, I can be, aggressive and adapt his play calling to the situation at hand.
Croc, I have a question for you. So one of the things that's been kind of trending, and I don't know if this alludes to maybe Kansas City having a lack of pass rush, but Steve Spagnuolo has been calling a lot more, or dialing in a lot more blitzes. Does that, in your opinion, do you think that helps Jimmy Garoppolo as far as, he likes to make a lot of passes kind of over the middle. So with all those blitzes, does that kind of help clear up some of the middle passing game for a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, I think blitzing Jimmy Garoppolo kind of works in his favor because he typically knows where he wants to go with the ball, and he's able to get the ball out of his hands pretty quick and efficiently, right? Where I see him have some of the most trouble is when he has a whole bunch of time in the pocket. And we know Jimmy is more of a timing and rhythm player, which is fine. We talked about this, what was it, the other day, where you got your playmaking style quarterbacks and then you have your timing and rhythm guys. And Jimmy leans heavily on timing and rhythm. There's nothing wrong with that. But as the play goes on and that timing or that rhythm is thrown off, he can have 10 seconds in the pocket and he's still liable to do some weird stuff just because that's not how he plays. So, yeah, I think blitzing him actually helps him get the ball out of his hands quicker and understand where the hole is in the defense. Now, also, it can kind of, and this is going to contradict what I just said, we also have known him to make those quick decisions and not account for a linebacker or a safety. So maybe if you say, you know what, if we do this 10 plays in a row, he might get us on 7 of them and maybe throw incompletion on 2, but one of them we might get a pick, and that's going to be a big play. So,
yeah, and just looking at what Mike is kind of saying as far as not being predictable in the run game, I kind of view screen passes as kind of like runs, but it's something too that we don't really do. So it'd be very interesting to see if Kyle Shanahan goes to screens. And I want to address like 2 things. One thing I'm seeing kind of lightly in the comments. Another thing, too, Croc, that you said, I want to say like a day or 2 ago. So people are asking about like, why aren't we seeing more Danny Gray? Well, I think it's the same reason why you're not seeing a lot of Jordan Mason, which everyone knows I am huge on Jordan Mason, maybe a little bit too big, but I'm huge on Jordan Mason. And it's the big thing here. Don't block, no rock. If you don't block, if you're not good at blocking, an excellent blocker, you're not going to see the rock. You're not going to see a lot of playing time. And then, Eric, you were asking about, why are we not seeing so many fast kind of scat backs in our offense like we're used to seeing? And I think a big reason comes down to the big change about 2 years ago with the cut block rule, where you used to be able to just lay out, right, and make those kind of cut blocks or chop blocks outside in space where linemen or anybody else could just kind of just throw their bodies out to kind of create that space and then allow your kind of faster backs to kind of get out. I think Kyle Shanahan kind of saw that change and then decided we need to make kind of more aggressive runs in the middle, because you're no longer able to just do that 10 yards outside of your tight end and 15 yards up the line is up the line. You have to now you're in a kind of like a confined box or space where you're allowed to kind of do those cut blocks now, which was kind of a big thing with the outside zone scheme. You're not allowed to use that tool now anymore. So I think that and we need to be able to run the ball a little bit better in the fourth quarter. But I think those are kind of the couple things. And then another thing here is someone asked, why is Kittle getting paid $15 million to block? Well, I think it's because he's still working himself back into rhythm physically, into shape, in order to kind of run some of those routes and do some of those things, which I think he's kind of coming back to. But seeing Medic Mike gone, I wanted to kind of bust his chops a little bit more about his lack of morale and kind of get him.
Well, I'll bring him on, and then I got to get to the next two callers. But here we go. He's back. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, but it's good to see you smiling there, Medic Mike. Don't ever let anybody take your shine, man. You're one of the best heightened in here on this channel, so it's always good to see you kind of just up and running, man. But I do want to say I don't know if it's going to happen this year, Croc, but next year I would love to, especially with you, Mike, heavily invested into trying to get like I don't know, something neat going, like a meet and greet, set up a tent, at a home game, Santa Clara, something like that, and just kind of just get like I don't know, just make this community more of kind of what it is. And then I'll say this last before I leave. Anybody who's kind of dealing with any kind of like anxiety, or you're scared to call in here on the radio, please do so. Don't just be don't be peeping around here. Do this, enjoy this, because I really do. I firmly believe that in 10 years, we're going to see somebody like Croc here on a national level. I don't expect to see him a decade from now still just doing Niners affiliated kind of like talk. Like, so, if you ever thought about doing it, now's the time, because eventually you're going to see this guy out there doing big time national coverage and news. Thank you for your time, guys.
All right, guys. I appreciate y'all. All right, Medic Mike.
Yes, sir. Hey, appreciate you, Croc.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Yep.
All right, here I go. Now we got the OGs coming on. Let's go, Terradome, TG 49ers. Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good, man. Good.
What's going on? Can you read me 5 by 5?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, that's a military term, meaning I'm reading out at 5 bars by 5 bars, and my audio is good.
Oh yeah, you're 5 by 5.
You and Breezy are going on at the same time, so I'm in between both. He's giving this hypothetical Harbaugh versus Shanahan thing going, so I might leave that for your next segment.
Well, I want to ask you, what's your thoughts on that, TG? You feel free to chime in as well, but again, this comes up right now because the 49ers are bringing the 2012 team back. For this game coming up, they're honoring them, and I don't even know why they're honoring them, but it's like they didn't win the championship. But all right. But anyways, I think that's why the Harbaugh thing is coming up. So do you have any thoughts on Harbaugh, his time with the 49ers, or Harbaugh versus Shanahan? Because I have seen that debate going on social media.
I'm a Harbaugh guy. I'm a Harbaugh guy.
My take on Harbaugh is when the Harbaugh years, it's kind of really is mirroring what's going on now. We led by the defense, and the defense was strong. And I know the OC that's in Baltimore
Greg
now.
Roman?
Greg Roman.
Right, Roman. Yeah, Greg Roman. When Cap took over, the explosive plays came from Cap. But after that, it was 3 tight ends, and it was I was kind of surprised how much we ran the ball because of Harbaugh being a quarterback and all that. But defense was strong. We with P-Dub and Bowman and Alden Smith, Justin Smith, those guys. We definitely. It's kind of like I said. It kind of reminds me of what's going on today, in a sense.
I'm a Harbaugh guy. Harbaugh is a leader of men. People have a little bit of revisionist history because I'm seeing in the chat they say, well, Harbaugh took over a team that we had so much and so much is like we were 6-10 in the doldrum. We couldn't get the plays in. Mike Singletary and I forgot who the OC was. I was watching them
like
online,
Jeep
and they
Christa
were
or something
taking
like
delays
that,
of
or
game and delays of game because they couldn't get the plays in. Harbaugh took over and did what the Bible talks about, a man named Shamgar. He slew 300 Philistines, and you know why he did it with the jawbone of an ass? Because that's all he had. And you take what you have and you get the absolute optimum most of it. Harbaugh would have taken not only that team, but this team and had us in 3 straight NFC title games and within a stone's throw of a Super Bowl down in New Orleans where the lights went out. That throw that Kaepernick threw to Crabtree, if we go back and look at it, they are holding Crabtree like it's nobody's business. We had to come back off at one time, Croc. It was a 28-6 deficit.
yeah.
We were down 21-6 at half, and then the kid came back, man, and ran the kickoff back 100 yards. We were down and out, losing rest, as Arrested Development would say in the song Tennessee. And it took a Herculean effort to come back and to make it competitive within one score. Harbaugh did that, man. And if not for a crucial fumble here or there, we played some of the most physical football. And you're right, my brother. We had a defense, and I can only compare our linebacking core today to that linebacking core that we had back in 2012. And that's why we got to honor Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis.
Right.
Justin Smith was coming off there. We had the Cowboy Smith. We had the Smith brothers just getting down and doing it. We had a pretty decent secondary who would communicate well. I think, was it Carlos Rogers?
And Brock and the Hawk.
Yeah, and Golston, my God, two of the biggest selections that I wish we would not have traded away was Golston and Delaney Walker. Delaney Walker was a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
You could plug him in, and I wish we would utilize Juice a little bit more like Delaney Walker. He was a tight end, and then sometimes he lined up at fullback. Sometimes he running the ball, and he was tough.
So he was like the Chris Cooley, who was essentially an H-back. That's what they call it, right? Where you do some of the motion stuff. It's like an H-back is essentially kind of a tight end / fullback. But what made Delaney Walker also very unique was he was a receiver in college. He went to a Division II school. He was a receiver. And that's why, like, you see the way the 49ers...
He's a Pomono guy. He's a Pomono. He's a California kid. Yeah.
So, I mean, he was a wider guy, but he played receiver. And the 49ers are like, all right, well, let's take this guy, H-back, because you can do some blocking stuff. He has some size, but he can pass catch. He can do all these different things. And they were like, you know what, by the way, go return kickoffs. He returned kickoffs for the 49ers.
He did that too. You're right. I love football players. I don't need specialists. I don't need little, I only come here to kick or something like that. Give me a guy who I can get out there and say, hey, coach, whatever you need right now, I'm getting down to getting it. And Delaney Walker is one of those guys. I see Debo doing pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
And that leads me back to what we have to do against the Kansas City Chiefs. They got a physical one over there named Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco looks like Debo Jr., number 10 over there. He's taking Tariq Hill's. Now, we got to strap it up this week. We can get it. But, hey, they got some physical ball players over there. We got to watch our steps. I'd like to go big nickel if Jimmy Ward's there. I want to man up on Kelsey. He needs somebody who can man him up and be physical with him and be tall enough and be strong enough and be fast enough to take that first option because Mahomes loves him. Secondly, I really want to do something different with our pass rush with these mobile QBs. It's our Achilles heel. Every time we play a mobile QB, he jumps out the box
it's
for
discipline.
80 yards, 90 yards. Buffalo ran a defense where they would rush 3 down linemen, but use that 4th to cop and spy Mahomes in the second half and come off the edge because he would jump out the window on the edge. And I think we need to put that in our repertoire. And I'll let you guys talk. I done had the soapbox for a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll say this too. I was kind of looking at the schedule ahead prior to us playing KC. I was thinking Monday night when I watched KC play the Raiders Monday night. Raiders came out and brought pressure on Mahomes and ran the ball. I said, that's what we do. Exactly when the Raiders started, I said, that's exactly what we do, right? I said, okay, we can do this, that's obviously before all the injuries started happening, but the Raiders were on it. They were bringing pressure, and Josh Jacobs was running the ball. I said, oh, that's the carbon copy of what we do. We just got to finish when we get in the red zone, and that's my job. If we can get pressure and be disciplined and, and get a couple of turnovers and we protect the ball, hey, we might come out, on top of this thing.
Exactly. Be us, man, and minimize those mistakes. Brendo, that was the worst drive I've ever seen by a center on earth. Ever.
All right. Hey, I appreciate y'all, man. I got to get everybody out because I got to go on with Grant Cohn in just a few minutes, man. But I appreciate the OGs coming on, man. And
appreciate it, Croc.
Hey, and to be honest,
a lot, man.
y'all gave me more confidence. Y'all gave me more confidence in this game. Like just listening to you and certain things and talking about, the Raiders game and what they came out and did and how the 49ers would like to play that style of football. That gives me more confidence that the 49ers can handle business.
It can be done. Let me throw this last one at you. Ain't a horse that can't be rode, and ain't a cowboy that can't be thrown. Anybody can get got.
Yes, sir. All right. I appreciate y'all.
All right,
I'll see y'all Monday morning. All right.
All right.
Shout out to the OGs coming on. I got a few things that I started real quick to get to. Jimmy can't be throwing 40 times. I'll say this to that. Jimmy, when throwing 40 times against the Falcons, it definitely wasn't the game plan, but the 49ers had one of the final drives before the halftime, so you increase your numbers based on that drive there. So now, boom, your numbers start to go up a little bit. And then when you have to throw, because you're down 2 touchdowns, you got to throw a whole bunch. So I think Jimmy's passing attempts as it pertains to the game against the Falcons is a little skewed because of the circumstances. All right. Now, you will still have some quarterbacks like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen who will throw 40 times in a game where they're blowing a team out or throw for 400 yards, but it's very rare. It's very rare. 49ers doesn't do well against backyard ball. And I'd say the counter to that, 49ers doesn't do well against backyard ball is, well, our guy Nees say here, people act like we're the only team that can't, I think he meant to say, contain mobile quarterbacks. Is every team, that's their advantage. And yeah, I agree with that. I think that every team has its challenges against those type of quarterbacks. And you just gotta hope maybe they miss or maybe they just make more mistakes than you. But, Josh Allen was running and jumping over Kansas City Chiefs defenders. Like, Josh Allen does that to every team. So Kansas City might be like, man, we just can't contain. And it's like, well, nobody can contain him. Nobody can contain Lamar Jackson. In the sense of from guys ripping off some of those plays that are harder to account for. All right, now, where I will say the 49ers kind of let me down a little bit was, man, the read option, diving down, being undisciplined. They got to be better against things like that. But I don't think you'll see read option too much from Kansas City Chiefs. We got Tyke. He says, stop it, Croc. He can't be throwing 40 times or more. I didn't say he can't. I didn't say he can. I agree that he can't be throwing 40 times or more, but I think it's easier to say that when you don't factor in the context in which he threw that amount of passes, which was throwing a bunch before halftime, trying to score, and then throwing a bunch when you're down 2 scores. So, that inflates the number of attempts. That wasn't necessarily the 49ers, their philosophy heading into the game. Like, we're going to throw 40 times, or we just want him to drop back and do this. It was like, no, we're throwing before halftime, and we're throwing to try to come back down 2 scores late in the game. But, all right, y'all, man, that's going to do it for this episode. I'll see, man. Like, I got to get ready. I'll fly to California tomorrow morning. I'll see if Greg can get on tonight. All right, I don't know where he's at. He probably called me. Somebody was calling me. But that's going to do it for this episode. And I'm about to head over and talk to my guy, Grant Cohn, man. And, go give it a listen. Till then, I'm out. Peace.
Croc Talk TV podcast. Peace.